Hey, nobody's out there, right? Good. I'm going to say weird personal stuff. If you don't want to hear that, just don't watch this part. What do you have to say, Sean? I feel like subconsciously this video making I do is like, what is it? Just, I know that my ex watches this. I know that my ex, well, not, I don't know if she's watching this specific video, but I think that, like, what am I trying to say? Get to the point, Sean. Subconsciously, whenever I'm making a YouTube video specifically, I don't know, like, I'm trying to, like, journal, but also, like, I'm kind of, like, I know that my ex potentially watches these things, and so, get to the point. As just a mammal, I'm always kind of like pining for my ex. I know it's pathetic or whatever like that. But over the years, I've kind of written like all these messages to my ex and said like, let's just like go at it like rabbits and have kids. And she just doesn't write back or anything like that. And so it's been like 10 years of that. And meanwhile, she just like slept with a bunch of bad boy guys who were like cooler and like more like badass or whatever. And, you know, I assume, I'm not talking to her because she got a restraining order against me a long time ago, but I guess she's going to marry this guy in Scotland. And so, go for it. Go for it. And then during the time that I've been live streaming, I've said all these things where I'm like, I'll have sex with any woman my age and weight or less. I know that's not really romantic, but nobody's interested. And so, anyway, what's the point? Just, I was having a chat with a guy, a young man who's 26 or something like that, and he's like, "You're a handsome guy. You have opportunity." And it's like, well, I used to, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I used to be able to just say, "Hey, I'm attracted to you. Are you attracted to me? Let's have sex." That doesn't like work anymore, and so I'm guessing that like I'm just too old to really get a woman to just be like, "Hey, are you attracted to me? I'm attracted to you. Let's have a fling." Including my ex. My ex is, I know she won't say it, but she's like, "You're too old." She used to just be down to just like, "Hey, I'm attracted to you, attracted to me." If I had a baby with her, then I would like get a job and pay for a baby. But since like, basically this is kind of what I want to say. Is I'm not being like vengeful or anything like that, but I basically feel kind of cynical in the sense that basically like, I'm just trying to think about like, what am I going to do in the future? And so this is kind of my assessment. This is kind of what I think. I wish I could just kind of like read minds or something like that and get into the mind of like women, and just I wish I could just ask the world like, this is kind of how it is in terms of like, because I guess there's a lot of different human dynamics. This is kind of how I see things. I could be wrong, but this is the story that I'm going to stick to in terms of like, this is generally how I see like life, at least my life. This is how it was in my life. Don't waste your time listening to this, but this is kind of like my story and I'm sticking to it. It's just when I was young, like really young, before puberty, I didn't even play with girls. Like, boys played with G.I. Joes, girls played with dolls, and like, unless my mom arranged the birthday party, girls didn't really come over because we didn't do similar things. We didn't play G.I. Joes. I liked building tree houses. I liked building forts and like playing like fighting video games. And so guys just came over and we would do guy stuff. Then when I hit puberty, suddenly it was like, oh, girls, like they have boobs, oh, they're sexy and stuff. And so after puberty, it was like, oh, did you get with a girl yet or something like that. And so during that time, there were women who were kind of like, all right, like, do you want to get married and stuff like that? And there was one woman, my ex, who was like, who I was really into. I thought like, well, I could have sex with her for the rest of my life. And I was just like, okay, like, let's get married. But it kind of like fell apart. And also she always wanted, it seemed like she wanted some like bad guy or something like that. She wanted, I guess, I got the sense that like I don't know. I don't really know, but I could be wrong, but it started to feel as though, I don't want to get sued by her because she actually took me to court. And so I'll just say, I got the sense that in general, women are kind of like, nowadays with like Tinder, they're like, I'll have a one night stand with like a bad boy, cool guy, alpha male or whatever. And if not, they got to pay. They got to have like a job. And so they're kind of like, I'm open, like long-term, open to short. I'll be long-term with some guy who pays my bills, or I'll have a short-term fling with like some bad boy, cool guy or something like that. And so I kind of like, I want to say to like exes from my past to remain nameless. That's kind of how I think things are. And so I guess I'm too old to really make the cut in terms of like people that you have flings with, at least with like young attractive women who can have kids. And then so basically I've milled this over and over, and I'm just gonna say like I guess there was just kind of a window of time that there was like sexy times, and now that window of time is kind of over because women my age, they can't even really have kids anymore. And so is that kind of what happens? I just feel I want to ask the world, like, when people are young and attractive, like when they're before puberty, like, did I asked this on ChatGPT? I asked ChatGPT like when kids are on the playground before puberty, don't boys tend to play with boys and girls tend to play with girls? And they're like, yeah, like it varies a little bit, but for the most part, yeah. And then so I just feel like there's this kind of bullshit where like if it was just about like similar interests and stuff like that, if it was just about living with people for similar interests, I feel like people would live with people of the same gender. Like if it's just about like, hey, do you like the same stuff? Like when I talk to girls on Tinder, I don't want to talk about this a lot, but when I talk to girls on Tinder, they're kind of like, I basically say like, hey, I'm attracted to you, you're attracted to me. But if I say sex, they're like, terrible, you're a terrible person. And then they say something like, well, do you have like similar interests? What do you like to do? And I'm like, well, like if I wanted to just do stuff with similar interests, I would just be with a guy. Like it's if you say sex, it's like, oh, you said Candyman, it's like a terrible thing. And so I'm just going to go ahead and say that there just seems like there's this weird double standard that women want, where they're kind of like they want you to say it's not about sex, but like if there's no sex, then like why would you sort of like live together? And so it just doesn't. And then like, so I'm just going to go ahead and say that that's kind of how it seems to me, is basically there's this world where women have the keys to the kingdom in terms of sexual reproduction, and I just think they're not going to say it, but they sort of powwow with each other, and I guess they're looking for different things. Some of them are looking for, I don't know, but basically I get the sense that at least in certain exes who were made nameless, it was basically like, if they're hot enough, they'll fuck some like bad boy cool guy. And so there's a lot of like single moms who are the bad boy cool guys. Like, I gotta go, I got more fucking to do. And then like, there's like, and then they say, there's a lot of single moms who are like, hey, I'll let you have like sloppy seconds, but I can't have any more kids. And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna do that. And so I actually extrapolating outwards, this is kind of like Fantasyland, sci-fi imagination. But I wonder if in the future it'll really start to be something like where, like only like 20% of men, maybe 10 or 20% of men even like have kids, and a lot of just, there's gonna be like a ton of single moms. And just, I wonder just if sex in general will start to be for like a select few, and mostly I just think it's mostly just for sexy people, and sexy people are in their 20s and 30s. And so I've never gotten old before, but I'm really basically looking at the road ahead, and I'm just thinking like, I'm never gonna probably have sex ever again. I basically feel like it just seems like it's kind of like, I think I get the sense I want to ask the world. I get the sense that like when people are in their prime and they're attractive and women can have kids and stuff, I guess they just make a deal called marriage usually, which is like, hey, we're not going to be hot forever, and so if you have kids with me, let's make a deal that we're going to stay together and be mother and father for the sake of the kids. And then after like sexiness kind of wears off, there's kind of like, hey, we're family now. Like maybe we're not even really attracted to each other, but I guess we're still gonna live together. We're like family members. We might have sex, we might not, but like I guess that's what people do. And then sometimes it doesn't work, I guess. But anyway, I'm just thinking about like, I'm almost 100%. I'm almost entirely certain, if I'm thinking about the road ahead, that what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna live stream. I've been on live stream now for like 8 years. Before I live stream, I could have like a fling with like an overweight ethnic chick or Asian lady or somebody that wasn't that hot, and just I did that in my 20s and 30s. Seems like those days are basically over, and so I'm like, all right, then I guess what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna live stream, I think, and make videos and just basically like play around. Nobody's listening, right? I really, and I have to be careful. I don't want to ever sound like a misogynist or something like that. And so I think women are great. If I had a daughter, I think they can do everything that they can do, most of the same things that men do. It just, in terms of like interests, even like I lived with my fiance for like 3 years. We still didn't even totally know each other. There's kind of like a men are from Mars, women are from Venus thing where like, again, like I'm not trying to sound I want to ask the world, like, is everybody kind of full of shit? Like, isn't it like men are interested in women for if it wasn't about sex, like why? If it was just like soulmate, it feels like they want to say, like, people want it to be like soulmate, but really, like, if it was soul, like, I've said this over and over. I'm not trying to sell anybody my point, but I'm genuinely confused. It's just like, if they've done tests where they'll put people into virtual environments and nobody can see gender, and if it's somebody who like is shared interest, you understand this person, you feel on the same wavelength as them, it's usually like people of the same gender. If it's about sex, it's usually opposite gender. So it just seems like there's this thing where, like, you're supposed to say it's not about sex, but if you're with a person, a female, and there's no sexiness, that doesn't really work. Like, there's kind of like this thing where it's like, if you're not attracted to them and you haven't been living together for 20 years or something, I don't see that working, because it's just kind of like, it's not, I don't see that working. So basically, what am I trying to say? Just, I can only recommend to future generations. I put this little thing on my little, probably no one even watches my Kick thing. But anyway, I'm going to keep this little thing up there because I feel like I can save younger people a lot of time and advice, or time with this little advice. It's just, if you don't want to end up alone, if you're a young man, try to make money and try to focus on your strengths to make money. If you're a young woman, try to be pretty. And just, that's ChatGPT for everybody. I know that doesn't line up with like politically correct things that like, my hippie parents, they didn't really tell me that. They kind of told me like, what? Women aren't going to like you. Women aren't going to like you for money. Like, they're going to like you because you're like a special person. And then you're not going to like a woman just because of prettiness. But as I've gotten to be like 45, I'm just like, in terms of like a sexual relationship, that was kind of like the main, that was, I don't see how you have sex with a woman if you're not attracted to them. And so, and then I guess as an older man, my mom said this thing where she's like, well, no, like, attractive woman who's young and can have kids is going to like you unless you're rich. And like, well, I'm not going to get rich just to get, if I have to pay in any fashion for a woman to be attracted to me from this age onward, if they're young and attractive, I'm never going to do that. And I'm also, by the way, never going to do that with my with any exes. I'm not trying to be vindictive, but I'm going to save these videos regularly just on the off. I have this kind of like, I'm not trying to be bitter, but basically I have this funny feeling that there could be exes from the past who are gonna like come back, like I've pined for them for all these years, and then like after like 3 years or 4 years, they're gonna say, please, like, basically I'm concerned that if I ever own houses, I have a feel, I could be wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but man, I'm really cynical now. I have a feeling that if I ever own houses, suddenly there'll be some kind of pretty woman, I don't know if it'll be an ex-girlfriend, maybe not an ex-girlfriend specifically, but some young woman will be like, oh, now I like you, and I'll be like, it's really just like, if you're a man, you should have money, if you're a woman, you should be pretty, and there's nobody's listening, right? I asked this guy who's 26 today, like, isn't love beyond love for a child kind of bullshit? Like, I used to I was such a naive little kid. I thought somebody would love me because I was like a special person, and I guess I thought I might, but now the older I get, I'm like, maybe just the only love really is unconditional love, is like love for a child, and then after that it's gonna be some like shady, if it's a romantic relationship, it's between a man and a woman, or I don't know, any kind of romantic relationship, it's gonna be some sort of shady, like balance of power. Like, if you have certain power attributes, you're gonna have to, if you don't have certain attributes, you're gonna have to compensate with money. And if you have, it's sorted, sort of like trade. I don't know, what am I trying to say? I guess that's very naive, but basically I'm just saying that, like, if I ever own houses in the future, I will never look at a woman and believe that she likes anything about me. I'll just be like, where the fuck were you when I had no money? And I'll just be like, oh, it's all just shallow shit. But like, I'm convinced that there's this window of time when you're young and you don't know that. There's a window of time when people are, at least when I was in my 20s, you can just kind of blindly be like, yeah, love, I believe in love. Take off your pants. And she goes like, oh yeah, and who knows how this will go. And so, what's my point? Basically, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. My story, and I'm sticking to it, is basically, sex for me is completely over, and I'm just gonna live stream and I'm just gonna live stream all day, every day, and just kind of like talk sometimes to people, I think the ability to talk with people on live stream is going to evolve. I would imagine like in the future there could be like hologram people, and then like maybe really in the future they could have universal basic income. And I wonder if in a future with universal basic income and just basically like hologram people all around, a lot of male female relationships might sort of completely dissolve. There just might be this feeling like, what am I trying to say? Just like, what am I trying to say? I wonder in that future, do any women and men really like love each other as a soul? That's kind of what I really wonder. You can ask this on ChatGPT. This is such a cynical idea. Again, like I've only been stuck in my own head for my whole life, and so I don't totally know. So I'm basically wondering like, do any ChatGPT doesn't really know either, but testing. Do any men and women in like a male female relationship, or just any like adult sexual relationship, do they really like love each other, or is the only love really like loving somebody because they're just a special person and they're their favorite person, and vice versa? Is that basically really just a parent's love for their child, and then after that, like male female love, adult love, it's some kind of trade. It's some kind of like, yeah, it's not like unconditional, right? That's a really thoughtful question. It's definitely not as simple as yes or no. You're right to point out the unique nature of parents' love for the child. It often is incredibly unconditional, driven by a deep biological and emotional bond focused on care. This kind of love often prioritizes the child's well-being. So, to answer your question, do adults really love each other? Absolutely, they can. I've never really seen one. My parents' relationship was just totally hostile, people abusing each other. My friends' parents' relationships, even my ex-girlfriend, who were different ex-girlfriends who remain nameless, the real glue that kind of held them together was some kind of like somebody's paying for somebody. It's sorted. It's not just like I love you, I'm ride or die, I have your back. It's some sort of like the glue that's really holding together is the guy is kind of paying for it. And so my theory is that when they have universal basic income, if they ever have universal basic income, and nobody needs anybody for money, I think you're gonna just see like a lot of just people being like, dude, I don't even like this person that I'm living with. Nothing personal, but like I'm gonna see other people in the world and stuff. What's the point? I just think like in that future, I think people will realize, like, first of all, they'll realize that a lot of those relationships, the glue that was really holding people together was some shallow shit, which basically amounted to something similar to prostitution. And then I bet you very few very true, honest sexual relationships will even happen, except like a few sexy people. I just think it'll basically be like really hot young people will just be like, hey, you're really hot, I'm really hot, and they'll have sex. But other than that, without the money and the glue to like hold people together, I just think sex will really start to be for like a very select few if there's no money involved. Can you substantiate that? Is there data to substantiate that that the glue, despite what people profess in terms of like I love you, you're my soulmate, etc., really the glue that kind of holds most traditional marriages together is someone's paying more. Somebody's basically paying for the person's company or something like that. And if they were souls in the ether and they could see and chat with anybody in the world, they'd probably not just necessarily be bound to each other as like permanent favorite people or something like that. Is that true? Yes or no? Well, it's possible to anyway. That's my theory. My theory is that like that's going to become like more apparent in the future, and I'll go so far. I could be wrong. I don't want to. Like I'm just probably expressing a little bit of bitterness as somebody who's not married, but I could even see a future where. Get the point. I could even see a future where just the idea of possessing somebody, like I'm supposed to be your total favorite and you're supposed to be my total favorite, and you only have eyes for me and I only have eyes for you. I could imagine that almost seeming kind of like weird. Just the idea of like, why do you have to be like somebody's favorite? Can you handle the idea that person might, like other people? I almost feel like that might be healthier. Can you substantiate that? I don't want to talk about this a lot, but I'm gonna drop this. But just, is there data to substantiate that like traditional male-female relationships, like the traditional marriage, where like the man is supposed to be the woman's like only person that she has eyes for, and he kind of possesses her, and she kind of possesses me, and they're not supposed to be interested in anybody else. That might actually seem, what do you call it, anachronistic, like an old-fashioned kind of thing, and just kind of maybe even like egotistical and just kind of like just not real, maybe even like dysfunctional, maybe even kind of like stifling, and just not healthy. Is that possible? Yeah, it's definitely possible. Doesn't that say, the older I get, the more and more it seems like. What's going? I don't know, but I just basically, long story short, I feel like a lot of people are full of shit, and I think increasingly I'm just gonna do. Nobody's listening. I'm not trying to sell anybody my perspective. Let's just leave it at that. Let's just leave that. But I think I'm just gonna. What? I don't know. I'm just gonna do art. Okay. First of all, I want to say again, I'm lonely. Like, I'm a lonely bastard, and I'm gonna die alone. That's not good. If you're a single person, you should go get married and not be like me, and find a wife, and whatever, do that thing, have kids and stuff. Let's just leave it at that. I don't want to corrupt the youth or anything like that. But if any ex-girlfriend who will remain nameless, if I ever have houses and she suddenly is like, well, now I like you, I will never like let you in. You'll never get a dime out of me. I'm not talking about anyone in particular, but just any ex-girlfriend I ever had. If they suddenly show up when I have houses, you will never get a dime out of me. I will never be in a position where I will have to give you money. And I'm not going to be like, oh, shucks, like I've got the internet. And if I live stream all day, I'm never lonely ever. And so that's what am I trying to say? I'm not trying to like threaten you, like you'll be sorry. I'm just saying like, fucking like, I'm like old already. I'm like already old. I've been sitting here at my dad's house for like 8 years, and you've not responded to me. So if suddenly I have some houses, it's gonna seem like really obvious what you're really into, and you're not getting any money. And I'm not talking to you in particular, but just I feel very cynical about just kind of women in general. But nobody's listening, right? I can definitely say that from the age of 21 to 36, there were like 10 different women throughout that whole period of time that just like me, I like them, they like me, we had a fling, and those were fucking awesome times. And then it just seems like after that, just everybody's kind of gross, and so there has to be, I don't know, there's just, I guess it's just, I don't really know how life works, but I imagine that like some older people, I don't know what the man, I don't know what they do, but like I'm not gonna do that. I'm never gonna get married. I'm pretty sure. I'm sure I'm never gonna get married. And just I don't get it. I don't get life. I feel like there's a lot of people out there who are full of shit, and eventually that will kind of be revealed when if there's universal basic income and there's virtual sex dolls. I think you'll see like 70% of traditional marriages just dissolve. They'll just be like all these people, these married couples who are like we don't even really know each other. Like, I'm gonna go do some other stuff. Do you mind? Like, it was nice hanging with you, but like, there's like a whole world out there. I don't know what's the point. I don't want to be cynical, but what's the point? Fucking, I'll just say I don't get it. But old ex-girlfriends, you're never getting a dime out of me. If I suddenly have houses later, don't even think about it. I'm cynical, and I just think like, just a lot of adult relationships, they're kind of sordid trades of some sort, and maybe the only real unconditional love is probably a parent's love for their kid, if the kid is lucky, and then it's just some sordid fucking shit of some sort. But if you can just have a fling when you're in your 20s, that's fucking awesome. I'm attracted to you, you're attracted to me, fling when you're 20s, no strings attached. Those were the fucking days. Anyway. But it seems like sexy times are for sexy people. Sexy people are in their 20s and 30s, and then it's just kind of over. And so anyway, that's that. Also, I'm gonna make a concerted effort when I'm live streaming or making videos. I'm gonna pretend that my only audience could be like a 4-year-old kid, and I'm not gonna get real like sleazeball. I'm not gonna even make anything close to like sexual solicitations or anything like that. But that today, I've decided that that's the narrative that I'm gonna stick to. Is just basically like, it's all sordid shit and just. But when people are young enough, there's a window of time that you don't see that, and the attraction can kind of like bring two young people together, and then it's some arrangement that basically involves somebody's paying, and I'm never gonna fucking pay, and so it's fucking over, and I'm fine with that.